Good evening. Now, the worst thing about climbing this for me is failure. I mean, who likes failure? Well, there might be somebody who likes failure, but I don't like failure. Although I have failed a few times, obviously. I don't know whether people do fail anymore, do they? I don't know. Everything's a project now, isn't it? Or you know, um, I mean, you only get one flash go, don't you? That's a given. Um, flashing the route is the best thing you can do, isn't it? The best feeling in the world, flashing a route. But that failure, it ruins the whole day out, doesn't it? For me, especially if you've driven a long way to do a classic route and you get shut down. It's the journey home in the car is horrendous, isn't it? So that failing business, not good. Talking about flashing, I've flashed a few things over the years, but I think one of my most memorable was down in the Peak District with my old friend, my old climbing partner Mark Leach, and we tipped up at Millstone, late 70s, mid to late 70s, um, to do London Wall, which looks pretty impressive when you stand below it. Anyway, Mark was a bit strong, well, a lot stronger than me. Although I might have had a bit of better footwork. Don't know, it's debatable. It's not debatable he was stronger than me, but the footwork thing, I might have had a bit on my side, but anyway. So Leachy went up first and just powered his way up the bottom section, right up to the little foot ledge, where you can almost take your hands off. I think you can get a no hands rest there. You can't really see that from below, but you can. And got some high gear, and then you've got this final crack where the feet run out. The gear's bomber. So Leachy powered his way up the top crack, and for some reason, about 5 foot from below the top, decided to put some gear in. Probably because he was strong enough to bloody do it. I mean, anyway, he hung in there, put a couple of wires in, and promptly fell off. And if anybody knows Mark, it wasn't a quiet falling off. He absolutely threw a fucking wobbler, and everybody watching was just, it was just a sight to behold. So he came down in total disgust. He went up, stripped it off. He had all flappers on his fingers. Anyway, it was my turn, and I was pretty much shitting myself, looking at this thing, thinking I had no chance, and managed to get up to the foot ledge, pretty pumped. Looked at this final crack and thought, right, well, get a high wire, and the wires are absolutely bomber in these cracks. Thought, right, I'm just gonna have to go for it, because I'm not strong enough to bloody hang on up here. So I just gritted my teeth and ran it out all the way to the top, and had a right wobble there on the last couple of moves, looking at a big fall, but managed to pull it off. And Leachy was a bit devastated, I think. It was a case of the weakness paid off in this respect, So it might have been the first on-site or the first flash of that route. I mean, I'm sure some arsehole will disagree with me, but certainly Pritch and Johnny and those guys had all fallen off it by then. I know that for a fact. Not that I've got an ounce of their talent, but, the sun shines on the dog's ass now and then, doesn't it? If you know what I mean. So yeah, that was I've never been back on the route because I wouldn't spoil the memory, but that was such an amazing thing at the time. On sighting that, flashing that. But Leachy got his own back in a big way in the afternoon. We went round to Kerbar, and he walked up Prophet of Doom, and I failed on it miserably. So I got my comeuppance in the end. But yeah, on sighting and failing is not a good thing, is it? I seem to fail a lot now. Back in the day, like when I first started, breaking into E3s was a desperate business. E1s and 2s seemed to come fairly easy, and some of the E3s, but particularly limestone and the steep stuff, I had a few failures on, and I just can remember them like it was yesterday. I think Great Wall Craigie Foran and Wee Doris at Stoney just shut me down completely. And I just, I was just pissed off, ruined my day, having to go home again and do it and not get the route done. For me, the day out's always been about getting stuff done, like bouldering with Jerry Peel and crew. We didn't go out and do desperately hard problems, but we'd go out and do bloody 20, 30 problems and high balls and terrifying times getting dragged over the top when you were looking at a ground fall by your mates and skin of your teeth, just getting a load done, So that day out, getting stuff done for me is pretty much what it's all about. I mean, even when I go red pointing now, or in the past, I still do a couple of routes at the end of the day, easy things, just to go home with something under my belt. It's just a big part and parcel of it. So yeah, the E3 thing was difficult. Anyway, moving on, I wanted to talk a bit more about my adventures down in Wales, and particularly my second E5. My first E5 was right wall in me sort of mid to late teens, and it was kind of a steady affair. We had a few beers the night before, and I actually used to get, I think I was still at school or just, maybe just leaving school when I did it, and my parents were like, kind of let me get away with murder really. And my old mate Dave Johnson used to call around, the kids would be playing on the street on a Friday night, and he'd come around. I think he had a Kawasaki, like 1000cc thing at the time, and I used to climb on the back, and off we'd go to Llanberis for the weekend, where unbeknown to my mum and dad, I'd have a couple of beers and do an E3 or an E4 or two or whatever, So pretty wild times in that respect. Blasting down there on the motorbike through the night at that age was something else. The right wall, moving on a little bit, maybe a year or two later from this, doing right wall in my late teens had gone really well, and I thought, what's next? Though the obvious one jumping out at me was Positron, the fantastic 3-pitch E5 at Gogarth. At this point I'd only done one route, I think 1 or 2 routes at Gogarth, definitely Dream of White Horses, which had terrified me a few years before, maybe the Strand, and maybe Cordon Bleu, something like that is the only thing I'd really done on the main cliff. So going down to do Gogarth, to do Positron off the back of right wall was probably a bit presumptuous and a bit naive in not knowing what was doing down there on the main cliff, on a big main cliff E5 adventure. So I went down there with my mate Chris Davis at the time, and we got down to the bottom of the cliff, and my old mate Duncan Drake was there, God rest his soul, a real character, and he was there to do Citadel. So, but the day was horrendous. It was really greasy. It was actually wet in parts. We were there early in the day. I mean, having been there these days, I'll now, you know what you're doing. You go down a bit later on when it's all burnt off, the wet and the grease. But it was actually wet. But I didn't know much about conditions or anything really. I didn't know my house from my elbow back then. And so I set off up Positron. Anybody knows the first pitch, it's pretty pokey, not easy. Quite run out, quite sketchy. And I had a really tough time on this pitch, but managed to do it. And pretty scary, pretty sweaty, horrible experience, and managed to get to the belay. I think my mate Chris was really put off by what he'd seen. And so I'm sat on the belay, not really wanting to come down. He didn't want to come up. When up walked 2 leading Lakeland climbers at the time. There was Rick Graham and Dave Burkett, who was kind of well-known climbers. I was only a young lad, they were a bit older, they were doing a lot of new routes. I looked up to these guys, and thought, oh. So they got in conversation and they decided that Rick was going to go with Chris and do something, and Billy Burkett was going to do the route with me. So that was great for me because I wanted to carry on, even though it was shit conditions. So Bill followed me up the pitch. He did okay. I was quite a bit starstruck, Burkett's and all that. And anyway, I thought he was quite happy for me to carry on, so I did the second pitch. And a bit less of an epic on the second pitch. I think I found it pretty hard, but got through it all right. Got to the belay. Sun had come out. It was a pretty hot day, still pretty greasy. Anyway, up came Bill, and I'm thinking, right, well, I can't wait now for the monster big main top pitch, which is a stunning pitch up this massively exposed head wall with pretty good gear, but a big feel to it. Anyway, I'm sat there getting psyched up, and Bill says, right, well, I'm going to go for it. Well, I was fucking livid. I just couldn't believe it. I'd done all this hard work, and now Bill was going to take all the glory. So I was really pissed off. My head went down, but being a young lad, I wouldn't say anything to him. Nowadays I'd probably tell him to fuck off and grab the gear, and gone for it. But Bill wasn't having it, and off he went. So if anybody knows the route, you go out round the corner, out of sight, and then you don't really see your leader for the rest of the pitch, and it's quite spooky. Anyway, after about 20 minutes, not a lot had happened, and without much further ado, back came Bill. The ropes went tight, he hadn't gone far, and he came back with a bright red face and said, no, it's not for me, which was which was music to my ears, really. So I got the rack, and then went for it, and I had a fucking all-out epic on this pitch. It was really wet, and I was way out of my depth on it at the time, and I managed to not put much gear in, which is crazy. As anybody's done the gear, you can get loads of gear in, but I remember being sort of 2 or 3, 4 body lengths out from the gear, going for the little roof at the top, because I just couldn't stop. I wasn't strong enough to hang in to put the gear in. It was wet. I just kind of went for it, and I remember just slapping my way around this roof at the top, and the gear being miles away, and just tooth and nail onto the easier ground. And just exhausted on the belay, and terrified, and all in, covered in sweat. And fucking Positron. And anyway, Bill followed it with quite a bit of the old tight rope, which made me smile a bit. No disrespect to Bill, but yeah, what a day. And I think we got to the top of the crag. I can't remember much about the top pitch. There is another pitch which I can't remember much about, but my mate Chris Davis was there at the top. And we're all being like the 70s. We had to have a cigarette back then, and I think he had a packet of Benson and Hedges, and I chain smoked 3 full Benson and Hedges right to the filter, one after the other. And Chris at the time just said I just had the 1,000 yard stare and looked terrified, So that's my little Positron tale, and just don't underestimate the main cliff at Gogarth, which I've never done since. And a far cry from the sunny wall climb at Dynasty Cromlech, the main cliff at Gogarth, big different ball game. So yeah, Positron, late 70s, fantastic.